we can all see the Rona narrative is finally completely collapsing, and obviously some of us were aware of this well before others, and we were called crazy conspiracy people or science deniers and banned and censored off platforms, all of the above. But now even the peak establishment puppet, the cream of the Democratic operative media crop, Cuck Todd, is telling Fauci that, well, people don't really trust you. They don't really trust Walensky and the CDC. And this is not even mentioning all the faulty things going on with the testing, right? The rapid tests aren't exactly accurate. Just keep testing yourself until it turns up positive. But also testing companies are being investigated for, I guess, just not testing, and, quote, questionable testing facilities are popping up in San Francisco. But all of that aside, we have done everything we can to try to trick these people into believing every single word you say. No matter how many times you flip-flop, no matter how many times you move the goalpost, they should still be blindly obeying you. I guess they're probably all just listening to white supremacist horseworm Rogan. But anyways, 80-year-old Lord Fauci of misinformation, how can we bring these people back?
I think the hardest thing to watch has been the CDC here, Dr. Fauci, because, you know, I'm going to be a little trite here. If you watch the movies about pandemics, the CDC is sort of the epicenter of things. And
okay, yeah, I mean, we've tried to paint this movie-like, completely unrealistic picture of you and the CDC, and I can't believe that people just aren't going for it anymore. I mean, what's happening?
In many ways, but and maybe it was just that first faulty test sort of, it was hard to pull back. But ultimately, is that where the focus should be? Restoring confidence in the CDC, that has to be the place that the public, number one, believes?
The answer is yes. I mean, traditionally, the CDC has been, and still is, quite frankly, despite all the knocks that they're getting, that the CDC has been and is the premier public health organization.
Oh, yeah, the CDC, despite all the knocks that are getting, I mean, we're just not listening to that. We're still totally perfect. And if you look at this chart here, you can see that this is from NBC News. This is not a far right-wing Fox News poll. This is not a Breitbart poll. This is an NBC News poll on Cuck Todd's Meet the Press on MSNBC, and they do not trust you. And I'm not sure why Cuck Todd is asking Dr. Fauci, who the public trusts less than the CDC, how they can restore trust into the CDC, because they already don't trust you, but here we are.
In the world. And Dr. Walensky is absolutely committed to restoring confidence in the CDC and to get a much clearer, more crisp and consistent messaging. And I believe she is going to be successful. And I support her very, very heavily on that.
So yeah, that was just another heaping dose of Fauci word salad. And it gets worse because we all remember that YouTube removed the dislike counter to, protect the small creators. But if you look at these comments, you can see that even the MSNBC crowd, and maybe this is YouTube, so there's a little bit more common sense people looking out real information, and they're not all MSNBC people. But the point is, they removed the dislike counter, and you can go through a bunch of these comments, and these people still don't trust Fauci or MSNBC or Cuck Todd or the CDC. Breaking news, Dr. Flunky says him and Cuck Todd are madly in love. I mean, it just goes on and on like this for many, many comments. The damage he caused is just unbelievable. Truckers in Canada coming together. Yeah, so while the narrative continues to just completely collapse into dust, the Canadian Freedom Convoy is dominating the news cycle. And while that's all happening, the people in California, of course, are doing the exact opposite. So if you head over to the San Francisco Chronicle, Oakland joined San Francisco and Berkeley in requiring proof of vaccination in restaurants, bars, and gyms. So Fauci is admitting that people don't trust him, people don't trust the CDC, and that's on MSNBC. But still, the people in California are saying, nope, well, we don't care how wrong that narrative is. We don't care how out of touch these people are. We're still going to force you to get this shot. And what's funny about this is the Tap Room and several other businesses in the Telegraph area began requiring proof of vaccines from their patrons back in August, well ahead of the city's mandate that goes into effect Tuesday. So this thing wasn't even slated to start until February 2022, nearly 3 years into this, which means they obviously have no interest in ever ending this thing. They've been doing it since August, but the state isn't requiring it until February 2022. This doesn't really make any sense. And there's also this, the curious tale of why 49ers and Rams coaches can circumvent California mask mandate at indoor SoFi Stadium. So they have to make sure that you know that it's indoor, and that's just super dangerous. But there's one clause in here that I really want to highlight where they say, where is it? The curious saga underscores a frequent criticism of California COVID-19 restrictions, that the rules the general populace live under grow considerably squishier when applied to the most powerful and wealthy Californians. And we can underline that with one more article that says, Sonoma County's new COVID health order is arbitrary and cruel to families. 2 Sonoma County parents argue that the county's ban on spectators at indoor high school sports games and performances is bad policy. Well, you think? And there's one clause here that says, as it stands now, vaccinated, boosted, and masked parents practicing social distancing are prohibited from sitting in the stands to watch their kids play sports. I mean, it gets no more maniacal than this. So you can go to a professional NFL game with 40,000 people and have the time of your life, and they're going to tell you that you got to wear a mask. But you can't go to a 100 or 200 person gym to watch your kid play basketball. It's absolutely insane. And it goes on. Yet they are able to do the following activities in Sonoma County: eat and drink in a bar or restaurant, shop in a mall, attend church services. I mean, how dare they attend church services? Or go to a movie or gamble at a casino. So that pretty much highlights the idea that there are rules for thee, but not for me. And just to sort of top off all of this insanity, popular NorCal town still torn over changing racist namesake. So nobody cares that the state has devolved completely into a segregated commie hellscape based on a broken narrative. Who cares that the kids are being torn away from their parents and the state is telling you that it's not safe to watch your own kids' basketball game or recital? Nobody cares about that. You know, a parent watching their kids perform in their formative years because of a cough, while Gavin Newsom dines out at French Laundry with London Breed, and she is feeling the spirit at a Tony concert. Nobody cares about any of that, because what we really need to be worried about is this racist town.